Hey everybody, welcome to the Family Fudge and welcome back to Bunches of Lunches. I'm Jennifer and in today's video I have 4 at-home lunch ideas to share with you. Now you guys, just like last week, for these lunches I'm really trying to focus on recipes that are simple and easy to make. In fact, all of the recipes I'm sharing this week can be made with 5 ingredients or less. Okay guys, so first up I have lunch idea number 1. Now I have to admit we're going a little bit stir crazy being stuck at the house. So I told the kids that today we could have a pizza party. We'll have some yummy lunch and then we can watch the Minions movie. You guys will have to let me know in the comments down below if you've ever seen it. It's super funny. So for today's pizza party, I'm not going to be making the traditional pizza. Instead, I'm going to be making some pizza sliders. So for this, I'm going to start with a package of Hawaiian rolls. I actually had these in my freezer, so I pulled them out last night. They are nice and defrosted now and they're ready to go. Now these sandwiches get baked in the oven, so I do need to go ahead and spray my pan with a little bit of nonstick spray. So I'm going to actually take this entire loaf of rolls. They're all kind of stuck together at this point, and I'm going to very carefully take my serrated knife and I'm going to cut down the center just like this, and I'm trying to be as even as I can. Now I'll go ahead and take the top piece off and I'll take the bottom piece and nestle it down into my baking pan. So right now I already have my oven preheating at 350 degrees. So at this point I'm ready to go ahead and add my sauce. This is just store-bought sauce. I had half a bottle of this left in my fridge, so I'm just trying to use it up. Now you do want a good amount of sauce on here, but if you overdo it and put too much sauce, you might end up with soggy sandwiches, so don't put too much. So now that I have that all spread out, it's time for some cheese. And you really could use any kind of cheese that you have on hand. I have a big bag of shredded mozzarella from Costco, so that's what I'm going to use. So I'm just putting a good layer of mozzarella on here, and then I'm also going to sprinkle a handful of cheddar on here as well. And now it's time for some pepperoni. Now you guys, at this point you definitely could add any other pizza toppings that you prefer, like olives or sausage. I suppose you could even add anchovies if you're feeling adventurous. But I'm just going to go ahead and top this with another light sprinkling of cheese. Once that's melted together, it's gonna kind of act like the glue to keep the sandwich together. So now at this point I'm going to add the top of the bread back on here, and I'm going to set this aside because before I bake it, I have a delicious topping that I want to create. Now you guys, I know that there are a ton of slider recipes out there and they almost always include some kind of flavored butter to top the bread. So for today's recipe, I'm going to start with 1 stick of butter and I'm going to go ahead and melt it. Once that butter is nice and melted, I'm going to go ahead and turn the heat off, and then I can go ahead and add some Parmesan cheese. I'm just adding about 1 tablespoon. This isn't fancy Parmesan cheese, it's just the canned stuff I had in the fridge. Next, I'm going to be adding in about 1 teaspoon of garlic powder. This is already smelling amazing. Once that garlic hits the butter, it smells so good. Followed by about 1 tablespoon of dried oregano. And then this next part is optional, but I'm also going to add just a few shakes of red pepper flakes. I don't want this to be too spicy for the kids, so I'm just adding a little bit. Now I'm just going to mix this all together. And a funny story, you guys, my son Griffin just came in the kitchen and asked me if I was making breadsticks, so he totally knows this garlic bread smell, and it smells delicious. So now that the butter mixture is ready, I can go ahead and brush it all over these slider buns. And if you don't have a brush, no problem, you can really just pour it on. Now at this point, I'm just going to stick this entire thing in the oven. I do like to cover mine with a little bit of aluminum foil so the bread doesn't get too brown, and really you're just looking to heat everything through. You want to melt the cheese. So once the buns are nice and toasty and the cheese is melted through, it's ready to go. Now I love to serve these hot right out of the oven, but they're also really tasty at room temperature. So while the pizza sliders were in the oven, I did go ahead and slice up some oranges and celery to go along with today's lunch, and I also got some cookies ready to bake. Now guys, I know it seems weird to be cooking Christmas cookies right now in March, but I've had these cookies in my freezer for a long time, and since I'm trying to use up what I have on hand, I thought I would go ahead and add them into today's lunch. Of course, these are super simple. I just have to place them and bake them. So now to our tray, I have the sliders. Next, I'm going to add in the orange slices with 1 little strawberry for decoration. Next, I'll get the celery on there. And of course, you know I'm going to be serving this with a little bit of ranch for dipping. Now in this other section, I'm also going to be adding in just a few grapes with another little strawberry on top. And then of course for the dessert, I'm going to add just 2 of these little Christmas tree cookies. And there you have it, guys. That is everything for today's lunch. The kids are just gonna have some water to go along with it. Okay guys, so for this next lunch idea, I'm going to be making something that I like to call the snacky lunch. Basically, a snacky lunch is just a lot of little things put together to create a lunch. And you guys, the star of the show today is going to be some cottage cheese dip. Now I know that might sound weird, but don't worry, it is delicious. Let me show you how to make it. I'm going to start by adding a package of cream cheese to a mixing bowl. And you guys, I actually left this cream cheese out overnight so it's nice and soft. And I'm going to take my electric mixer and kind of break it up a bit. Next comes the cottage cheese. And you guys, even if you're not a fan of cottage cheese, you should still give this recipe a try because it's really that good. So I'm just adding a tub of cottage cheese in here, and now I'm going to blend the two of these ingredients together. And I'm probably going to blend this for at least 3 minutes total because I really want to break up all the little cheese curds in the cottage cheese. And now you guys, to give this dip some zip, I'm going to be adding in some red wine vinegar. If you don't have red wine vinegar, you could definitely use regular vinegar or apple cider vinegar. Okay guys, so now at this point I'm ready to add in some mayo. This is just about a 1/4 cup of mayo. You can use any kind that you like. Okay guys, now to finish off this dip, I'm also going to be adding in some celery salt. And then finally, you can go ahead and add some salt and pepper to taste. Now you guys, this dip is good to go. And I actually think this dip tastes even better the next day. So any leftovers you have will keep really well in the fridge. So now that our delicious dip is done, we need some things to actually dip in it, right? So first I'm going to be adding in some cucumber slices. Cucumber slices are definitely a thing around here, and I feel like I go through several cucumbers every single week. Also for dipping, I'm going to be adding in some carrot sticks, and then finally some whole wheat Ritz crackers. Now to finish off this lunch, I have one more thing I want to add, and it's going to start with a rice cake. Now this is actually an apple cinnamon rice cake, so it's a little bit sweet. I'm just going to be spreading on a little bit of peanut butter. Next, I'm going to be adding some apple slices, and I did go ahead and slice these extra thin, that way they would be easier to bite into. And I just want to arrange them in this really fun pattern. I think that looks super cool. And I'm also going to stick some blueberries on here as well. Now of course for my little kids, they probably won't eat a whole one of these, I'll just give them half. And there you have it guys, that is everything in today's lunch. So for this next lunch, I'm going to be making some burritos. My daughter Mackenzie loves herself a good bean and cheese burrito, so I'm actually going to be making a big batch of these, and whatever the kids don't eat today, I will freeze for later. And you guys, for these bean and cheese burritos, I'm keeping things really simple. So as you can see, I'm using a big can of refried beans. Since I'm making a lot of burritos, I'm going to be using at least 1.5 cups of cheese. I would prefer to use a Mexican blend cheese, but all I have in the house right now is cheddar and mozzarella, so I'm going to be using a combination of both of those. I'm also using about 1/4 cup of taco seasoning, and then of course we have some flour tortillas. Next, I'm going to take a big old bowl and I'm going to add in all of my refried beans. I'll add in my cheese and the taco seasoning mix. And you guys, that is it. Like I said, these are simple burritos that my kids prefer, but if I was making these for myself, I would probably add some green chilies or some salsa in here as well. And if you wanted to, you could even add some ground beef. So now that I've mixed this all together, I'm just going to create a little assembly line with these burritos. I'm just adding a scoop to each tortilla, and then I'm going to roll it up. So I'm going to be heating up 4 of these for the kids' lunch today. So I'm just going to add these into the oven for about 12 to 15 minutes or until they're heated through. And the rest of them, I'm going to stick in my freezer just like this for about 30 minutes. And then at that point, I can stick them all in a Ziploc bag and they won't be stuck together. Then of course, when we're ready to heat them, I can just pull them out of the freezer, wrap them in a paper towel, and microwave them for about a minute or so. Okay guys, so while those burritos were in the oven, I also created some cucumber and carrot stars. This is actually a really fun activity to have your kids help you make. I'm going to be adding some ranch for dipping, and then in this back section, some delicious yogurt. Now guys, I just took some regular plain vanilla yogurt, I added in a few chunks of pineapple, and I sprinkled each one with a little bit of coconut. Doesn't that sound delicious? Over in this section, I'm adding a handful of grapes. Now, normally I would serve these burritos with a little bit of salsa on the side, but unfortunately I don't have any salsa in the house right now, so I'm just going to serve them as they are. This next lunch idea is going to be completely meat-free, and the star of today's lunch are going to be these super cute smiley potatoes. Now, unfortunately, these smiley potatoes can be kind of hard to find, and believe it or not, the only place around me that has these is Target. So if you're going to be making a Target run this week, maybe check out the freezer section to see if your Target has these potatoes. Now, I want these guys to be extra crispy, so I'm going to add them to my air fryer, which is a really good way to get a nice crispy texture without actually using any oil. So while those are in my air fryer, I'm going to put together a delicious kale salad. Now, normally my kids would not just eat kale as is, but when I throw together these salad kits, they love it. So in here there's a little bit of kale and cabbage. These also come with a little packet of dried cranberries and pumpkin seeds, and then of course it also has a really tasty dressing which is a little bit sweet and tangy at the same time. So now I'm just mixing this whole kale salad together so the whole family can enjoy it. Next, I'm going to prepare some deviled strawberries. Now I know that sounds weird because normally when you think of deviled, you think of deviled eggs, and these are kind of the same idea, but there are no eggs involved. To make these deviled strawberries, I've started by washing and cutting all of my strawberries in half. And of course for this, you guys, the bigger the strawberries, the better. Then I'm just taking about half a block of cream cheese, this is room temperature, and I'm going to mix this up with my electric mixer with a little bit of powdered sugar and vanilla extract mixed in. Now of course you definitely could just spoon this mixture on top of each strawberry, but to make each one look extra fancy, I'm going to do this with my little piping bag and my tip, and then on top of each one I'm going to sprinkle some crushed up graham cracker. Now if you guys have not tried deviled strawberries, you totally should. These are a perfect fruity treat that my whole family loves. So while these potatoes are still nice and hot, I'll get them onto our tray. And in this back section, I'm going to add plenty of ketchup for the kids to dip them in. And then finally, in this last section, I'm just going to be adding in a little bit of unsweetened applesauce. And there you have it, guys. That is everything in today's lunch. Let me know in the comments down below, out of all of the lunches of this week, which one was your favorite? Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in tomorrow's video.